We are finally truly ready to rock, ladies and gentlemen. We saw the first decider earlier already, and now it's going to be time for the next one. Two strong players in this group. KnOfF, hailing from Sweden. Finally, a Swedish player was able to make it here. If we have some Swedes in the chat, I'm sure they're going to be cheering for their man now. Team Sweden was a big institution in the Warcraft scene for many years. Starbuck, Thorzane, KnOfF, they've all been hanging out together. Endar's back then, Vanilla. And KnOfF finally a player to make it here. And a pretty successful run so far in his group. But of course now, really terrifying opponent.
Yeah, LabyRinth, man. He is not to be underestimated. Never known as being like an ultra top tier player. But these days I feel like Labby is a threat in every matchup. And is a player that is more willing to divert from common strategies and play super unpredictably. Although in this particular game we do have a regular opener, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have a regular game ahead of us. And KnOfF, I've not seen him play for a long time, at least in a competitive format. But it seems that he is up to date with the meta, and it looks like, I don't want to call it too early, but this may be mass air coming from ORC already.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of interesting tech switches lately. I think Lynn especially has been doing that quite a bit lately, was able to fool some big name players with that lately. 1-0 especially, I remember sawing some series between them. And Lynn, specifically speaking, has been trying to be difficult to predict. He's been playing Farseer openings, Blade Master opening, he's been opening Headhunters and then switching to Wyvern. Open Wyvern and then switch into Headhunters.
Super weird.
And this is really weird to make work because, of course, when you play switches like that, it throws the timings off and you're going to be left with a moment of weakness. If that gets exploited, you're going to be in a tough position. But if you pull it off, it can work really well because Undead needs specific heroes for specific tasks.
Precisely.
You can beat both strategies. You can beat Mass Wyvern, you can beat Mass Headhunters. That works well. But some heroes don't do well at all in some of these cases. For example, Alchemist, trash against Headhunters. Dark Ranger, trash against Wyvern. So this is something that the orcs, specifically Lynn, have been trying to abuse lately. But yeah, as I said, it's a difficult style to make work. Whenever you fully switch your tech in the middle of a game, that it's difficult to find the right timing for and the right footing for. This has been, to me, the most interesting development lately in this matchup, but I haven't seen anybody else except for Lynn pull it off yet. All that is to say that KnOfF here might just play a straight-up normal game that is fairly telegraphed and fairly predictable. You mentioned the Wyvern earlier, but we do have a Barracks here, so this could still be Headhunters, though we see none of them yet.
Yeah, KnOfF finally producing that first Headhunter. I think he was very laser focused on trying to get any steals off of Labby here. Labby did actually secure every single creep so far. So that is level 2 unlocked for him. Nice and early, of course. The Farseer not hoping to get miracles done here, but is certainly attempting to slow down Undead as much as possible in these situations. Labby selling the TP as well. That might be a factor later on. Of course, opening himself up to being hero-focused and killed, potentially. Interestingly, deciding to use a coil against the wolf there, Remo. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I guess he had a decent amount of mana. The wolves were not ready to be resummoned yet. The 30-second cooldown on those bad boys. And trying to get as much XP as possible. These green camps are not enough for level 3, but they get you pretty close to it. Oh,
wow. That snare came out from downtown, didn't it? It was all the way across those rocks there.
Yeah, and the Farseer is also getting pressure at the same time from
really
ghouls and
nice.
from the Headhunters. From the Skellies, of course, I mean. Finally, a Headhunter participating here in the fight, putting pressure on one ghoul. But so far, Labby seems to be dealing with all of this pretty well. He got a decent amount of experience, but also KnOfF, I guess, accomplished what he needed to in this early game, and that was prevent level 3 Death Knight. That was successful.
Yeah, KnOfF here managing to slow down Labby a decent amount, but I love how well Labby managed to handle every part of this early game so far. He didn't surrender a single creep. He managed to pressure the Farseer non-stop with units. We see how bruised this hero is. That's going to be a heal salve charge and a clarity guaranteed just to get that hero back up and running again. And KnOfF, obviously, with this fast tech, doesn't have a particularly significant army, but the hero is coming out super quick. The Shadow Hunter is basically almost out. Tier 3 Fortress is well on the way. And yeah, I don't think we're not going to see any mass air. This is going to be a standard composition, most likely, with Berserkers. Yeah. And maybe just pure Berserkers, which I've not seen in a long time.
Yeah, or also something we've been seeing lately, maybe it's going to throw down Torn Totem soon. Also something that Lynn and other orcs have been playing lately. On the way to tier 3, you make a Tauren Totem so that it finishes with tier 3, and you make 1 Tauren and 1 TC, and that can round out your 50 supply army quite well. And if you find yourself in a good position, we've even seen that paired with a fast Tiny, though that can be pretty greedy at times.
Yeah, well, I'd definitely love to see that. I know you would, Remo. Your favorite unit being the Tauren, of course.
This is the best meta right now ever, bro.
For sure.
We got Taurens, we got the Crypt Lord. This is my dream. My favorite units and my favorite hero in the meta right now. Happy was experimenting a bit with Crypt Lord 3rd in this matchup. And can be really good on high levels, but still always has the same issue. Once you run out of mana, he doesn't provide much. Well, he's still a great tank, to be honest, but you would like to have more than just tankiness normally from one of your heroes. The TC 3rd is going to provide also an aura, which should certainly be added next. But KnOfF went for the Beast series, so there's like the old school style, more so with Kodo, maybe with the Headhunters, which then makes Taurens not really feasible right now.
Yeah, this is really interesting to see, actually. We see KnOfF really sticking to the old style of play. And Labby here, he's just playing pretty much super solid, managing to get a ton of levels, so much creeping done already, and now the Headhunters are under severe pressure right now. Shadowhunter also under a lot of pressure potentially, but the Wand of the Wind keeps that DK at bay for KnOfF, who manages to get out relatively scot-free, but has to pull more consumables in order to deal with the undead, and of course also still losing a Headhunter at the end of the day. Not amazing for him.
The DK now is leveled indeed quite well, despite the fact that it was so boxed in the early game. Now almost level 4. This is really good to get early on. If this game goes long, level 5 DK will be pretty much a guarantee, which is always very powerful. But only losing one Headhunter so far is also pretty good for KnOfF, but it needs to work on those levels badly. Right now he finds himself far behind in experience. This is something he must find a way to change very, very quickly, because it is going to be mostly about heroes in the end here in this matchup.
Yeah, KnOfF finally needs to focus on power leveling those heroes as much as possible. Of course, we know the Shadowhunter is extremely level dependent, needs that level 3 to basically do anything in major fights. Farseer, of course, also pretty underwhelming on low levels, and the TC too, so, you know, in general, Orc is very, very dependent on good heroes, and Undead kind of just needs a few crucial levels to come online. The level 3 DK is enough, level 2 Lich is enough, and level 1 third hero is usually enough to win those crucial engagements. Labby here just hitting tier 3 finally, getting the Sacrificial Pit and a second Crypt. This is going to be mass ghouls.
Yeah, absolutely. Going for more upgrades as well. 1-1 in queue already. Precisely. Getting ready for the mass ghoul play. This is exactly what Undead was playing all the time before the patch. So last patch, to be precise. When mass ghouls was what was played always, which was the reason why in the first place Orcs started playing mass air, because they couldn't fight ghouls on the ground anymore. They had to find something else, and of course ghouls, the one thing they certainly can't handle is mass wyvern, so they were forced into a different playstyle. But now that ghouls are weaker again, Orc can again play ground units, and the berserkers are certainly way more flexible than mass wyvern. With mass wyvern, for example, you can't play triple hero, you're always locked into only Farseer Shadowhunter, and you're much more limited in all sorts of ways. Here, this playstyle, if it's playable, is also the higher ceiling strategy for the very, very end game, if you have the levels. You touched on the heroes before, and yeah, I can only echo what you were saying there. I think Orc has potentially amazing heroes if they have the ability to fully come online. Get some items, get some levels, make sure you have a lot of mana to work with, then they're tremendous. Whereas, I think especially Frenzy Ghouls, they love to fight in low hero level scenarios.
Yes, they're super dominant for sure.
Yeah. Even if the Undead doesn't have high levels, the Frenzy Ghouls are still always good, and they will be all the better if the enemy heroes are low level. Of course, the biggest example here is the Storm from the TC. If the TC ever gets level 5, Ghouls are all useless, but also Chain Lightning can go quite a long way there if he can level that.
Oh, this is a really interesting speed scroll, actually. Preemptive speed scroll here. KnOfF aiming to dive the Acolytes, I'm assuming here? Yeah, he is going to go for the economy. This is quite a rare play to see. KnOfF not actually creeping the whole map on his own side, choosing to now go for a bit of a play. And Labby, of course, doesn't have a TP. Undead's these days playing insanely greedy. Is this the move that might actually get KnOfF super far ahead in this game? Oh, the Berserker is trying to block the bottom there, but it didn't quite pan out too successfully. But yeah, KnOfF here doing some decent damage, but Labby not suffering too badly.
Yeah, this was a good tactical play, I would say, taking out some of these Acolytes. Ghoul upgrades already looking really good, though. About to be finished with 1-2 here in a moment, and the opportunity for Labby to get the next red camp. But of course, time was bought for at least a watchtower. This is all seen thanks to the shade. But KnOfF, he's got the tiny somewhere in his pocket, and that could function as a win condition later on. That Farseer ready to plant it up there in the north. I'm looking through the Orc heroes, though, the items, and they're not looking too amazing. I mean, the medallion for the TC certainly is great, so is the ring. but there aren't that many items in general. And he sold the medallion for more gold.
Oh my god.
And to get the Orb of Lightning.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, Orb of Lightning is good, obviously, but it's not going to be on a Blade Master, right? Which is the hero that utilizes that orb in particular to the fullest effect. It's probably going to go on a Shadow Hunter or maybe the Farseer, who don't attack the quickest. I feel like maybe this is a bit of a misplay potentially. The TC here needs every bit of tankiness he can get, as he is very often on level 1 and 2 the easiest target to immediately destroy with KnOfF Focus Fire.
If you are chasing, Orb of Lightning is amazing to lock down these ghouls finally. Of course, he's playing without without raiders here, so that makes sense. But if you are kiting and running back, the Orb of Lightning does very little. So I feel like you have to be ahead in the fight, be on the chase for the Orb of Lightning to really be good. We have first to see that unfold, as this is a Giga Spiral expansion, by the way. That is a lot of distance for this.
Oh man, I think this is misplaced actually.
Which is weird. You could have put it down here, right?
It's too far away. I think you actually need 6 peons to fully saturate it.
Yeah, while also...
Oh man, nice.
Labby expanding here.
Yeah, Labby not too keen to fight on Orc terms here actually, which is an interesting play. We'll see how it works out for him, because obviously the ghouls are incredibly strong right now, being so heavily upgraded, but they can get outscaled, and I feel like time might be running for KnOfF here a little bit if he could just come online a bit more. But Labby with a really nice play into the Orc base right now. You see those ghouls they just tear buildings apart. There is no spike barricades to deal some chip damage back against them. And of course, Labby is expanding behind. He'll look to take a little bit of a trade here, maybe kill some units, especially when they're Berserk. They take a lot of damage. KnOfF just decides to go in immediately. We see KnOfF going onto the Berserkers, who are starting to die pretty quickly. TC gets an amazing stomp, skilling up, using the Info Potion, immediately to get rid of Silence. Very, very nicely played. And lots of units are falling on both sides right now, Remo.
Next Storm comes through. There was a second one. After this, we have one more to be used. Lots of ghouls are falling, but also Dark Minions are being raised, of course. Once a Dark Ranger gets 3, that's when things really oftentimes turn in the favor of the Undead with the level 2 minions. KnOfF is trying to take out one target after the next. Many ghouls have been eliminated already, but yes, the skellies keep on getting raised. Also, by the way, Orb of Lightning really good against destroyers.
Yep,
if you can perma lock them down and then hit them with more piercing damage, that is tremendous. But also, speaking of tremendous, DK now level 5. The coil is extremely strong. Also to help out those destroyers that were mentioned before. The Labby seems to be winning this fight clearly now. Once the Orc runs out of mana, things get very, very difficult. And that was one of the last heal waves coming through from the Shadow. Farseer doesn't have anything left. TC doesn't have anything left. It seems like an easy fight now for Labby, who's only really missing level 3 Dark Ranger. And it's only a moment away.
One of these Orc heroes is going to get blown up in a second by KnOfF for sure. And we see these ghouls just proving to be super strong against the Orc heroes, which were not incredibly high level. The Farseer here just gets targeted immediately and dies to Nova. That is so much damage for KnOfF to deal with. It's far too much. The shop is going to be cancelled once again. No emergency provisions for those remaining Orc heroes. And KnOfF here, he is fighting as hard as he can, but it looks grim.
Yeah, looking very desperate now at this point. KnOfF not playing a bad game, maybe lacking a bit of that new tech that Orcs have been incorporating. Those torrents in low numbers can actually work really well in the right army, but they're hard to properly integrate into your army, something that only few have mastered so far. It is the cutting edge of the newest strategies, implementing torrents. KnOfF here didn't try that. He tried with the expansion. It is up, and that is indeed a long
6 beyond saturation right there. Yeah, and level 2 Dark Ritual online as well for the Lich is just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it's going to be disgusting. If he dropped his items as well, like Medallion of Courage, I think this is like, what, 200 mana per game? Maybe not as much as that. I'm thinking in terms of the old numbers, the good old days of Dark Ritual numbers.
33, 66, 100%. Dude, that was a fun time.
The good days.
That was OP as hell.
It was. Lich was disgusting for the longest time, for sure. KnOfF long range. Oh, the Shadow Hunter trying to run to the back. The Lich is hungry for his target to lock that Shadow in an icy tomb. And thankfully for KnOfF, that Shadow does get away barely.
Well done by KnOfF trying to buy time for the Farseer to be back. And he's about to return indeed. But of course now we can see the lead has grown to a substantial size. 65 supply, up by 15 is Labby, ready to put an end to map number 1. He's going for the big assault towards the expansion. He knows this is the lifeline for KnOfF. Farseer still 5 seconds out. KnOfF may have to go the expansion for the time being, but no, he's coming to fight with very limited resources here. Almost no mana on these heroes.
Yeah, just the Dark Ranger and Lich here are enough to focus the heroes. I mean, the Shadow Hunter is almost dead again from just 2 heroes. And, you know, KnOfF thinks, okay, I need to get Wind Riders now against so many ghouls, but I think it's too little too late. And, you know, the heroes of the Undead now have reached sort of that critical point where they can pretty much solo any sub 60-foot army by themselves, it feels like.
Expansion will not be standing any longer. This is the sweet spot for Labby. 5-4-3 heroes, very, very strong, backed up by a few statues, absolutely tremendous. While KnOfF at least bought the time for the fuss here. He is, here he is. He has returned to the rest of the gang. He is the one carrying the Orb of Lightning. He's the one apparently carrying the last bit of hope for this army. But it's a fleeting hope only, because Labby has everything he needs. He's got 2 bases, mining, super strong heroes, huge army, 2 upgrades by the way as well, these ghouls.
Crazy.
Extremely strong. This should be realistically an unlosable position, but KnOfF is going to hope for a misstep by his opponent here.
Yeah, nice little engage by KnOfF, trying to get as much as he can do with this paltry force of his. Of course, the Wind Riders now are pretty strong en masse. There are 4 of them, but the Undead heroes might be able to just clean those up. Yep, Coin over there just immediately destroying one of those Wind Riders, and we see the heroes are almost enough alone to clean up those Wind Riders. Some ghouls losses will be taking, of course, but I think LabyRinth doesn't mind. Hero focus is on the menu once again, potentially. I think that might have been a miscoil there on the Wind Rider, but in any case, KnOfF is down and out, and Labby up 1-0.
And that was a pretty convincing showing. LabyRinth here, of course, is the favorite. That... Hold on, did we not? Ah, there we go. Post-game here, quick look. Who was the damage leader? The Lich. Not too surprisingly. Farseer oftentimes ends up also putting out lots of damage throughout a game, but this game he had a decent start, but nothing too overwhelming, really. So Labby was able to bring this one on home. 1 map now away from the final round of the open bracket. Of course, the group winners, all 8 of them, will land in a bracket where they play for 6 spots into the main event.
Yeah, it's pretty nice actually for them. As long as you can make it into top 8 from this Swiss group, you have a very realistic chance of at least making it into the lower bracket of the Being Esports World Series. And the unlucky 2, of course, that don't make it will be eliminated permanently. And it looks like Labby will be one of the first to punch his ticket into the next stage, which is double elimination also. So plenty games ahead of us, that's for sure.
Yes, sir. And this time we can join in without any problems. The score now, Labby is 1-0 up. And as we go on to map number 2, Tight Hunters is possibly the last map, unless KnOfF can find some revenge here.
Yeah, KnOfF, you know, he's made it to his first LAN event in God knows how long. Can you remember the last time KnOfF made it to a LAN event?
Oh, that's a good question. Back in WCG, like Athens and stuff, he wasn't there. That was Scythe, that was Sonic, that was Hawk. Yeah, for KnOfF, it seems to have been a long time. It's wonderful to see him here. Finally, one of the big Swedes representing, and a big Swede he is indeed.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, looking good so far in the group, but yeah, Labby, he is the best Korean undead right now. He is one of the very best undeads in the world, period. He has those tournaments where he really shines and shows us his best. A bit inconsistency has plagued him in the past, but when he's really on, he is able to beat anybody in the world. We saw that against Happy in the grand final of Warcraft Champions, for example, in the WSB tournament, the Korean one. He's been doing very well at times, and here also, so far, he has looked dominant. It is the Farseer opening again by KnOfF. No Blade Master involved here yet, with Labby going with a tried and true goal opening.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect out of Labby last game, honestly. I wouldn't have predicted that he would throw down a second crypt and just keep spamming ghouls. But obviously in the end it proved to be a very fruitful strategy. You know, KnOfF, he didn't really get the levels online needed. There was no level 2 Stomp in particular, or level 2 Chain Lightning to counter all those ghouls. And they just totally ran amok once they were amassed in such huge numbers. And the upgrades as well. You know, especially the armor upgrades I feel for ghouls, it's just huge value against the berserkers, helping you to trade, you know, ghouls for berserkers so much better than usual. Yeah. And Labby found great success with that. Traditional opener here for LabyRinth these days, of course, with the DK ghouls, and KnOfF here creeping away as well. Both players going to leave each other alone to begin with. You know, KnOfF not fearing Labby doing something totally crazy, like some sort of early expansion. Acolyte providing a small amount of distraction, actually gets denied by the creeps. A little bit unfortunate there for the old KnOfF Meister. Who once again is electing to go with the fast tech approach and a barrack. So we may see a very similar game to game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Fast tech into headhunters later on. Berserkers normally triple hero. Farseer. This is a really good map for a little bit of Farseer creeping early. These 2 green camps are easy to take, and if you get them, are perfectly enough for level 2. If the DK should come to harass you, then it might not be the worst news either, because that means the Death Knight isn't level 2 yet either. But of course, if you get the turtle, which he will, that will change. And the first bit of momentum swings Labby's way, picks up that level 2. But it's not so easy to get level 3 on this map. This is always the big concern for Farseer early game. Make sure the DK doesn't get level 3 under any circumstances. The naturals are easy to creep, but everything else comes with a bit of risk. This middle camp has great experience, but if you're getting harassed by Farseer and Wolves, you're going to take a ton of damage. And then outside of that, there's not really many amazing choices here early game for these ghouls.
Yeah, the marketplace is also really tricky for ghouls. All the creeps are heavy armor, apart from the 2 little guys at the back. And it's not super easy to draw the Ogre Magi out into the open field. So LabyRinth opting for a bit of evasion creeping, but actually KnOfF keeping on top of his target right now, finding where LabyRinth is. But of course, this is the trouble with the fast tech build order from ORC. It's really hard to prevent the undead from leveling. KnOfF doing decently though, of course. We are buying some space for his tech to come online, and Farseer has his own levels too. 1.6 is honestly not too bad given the strategy that he went for.
And as we have more headhunters coming out, this orc army is quickly getting stronger and we'll be able to face these ghouls pretty soon. But of course, you always got to be wary of a possible surround.
Oh, nice denying the wolf.
Headhunter army, you do not want to lose for no good reason. As we are attacking again up to tier 3. Shadowhunter on the way. Oh, and look at the tech difference, by the way. This is, I mean, we expect it to be clearly on the orc side, but this looks immense.
Yeah, it should be about a 1 minute difference. Orc is teching before the hero comes out, which is like 1 minute 45-ish when they can start tech. And Undead usually starts tech about 250-ish in-game time. So we should see about a minute tech difference, but it did look more pronounced than I expected, but I think it was about right. And unlike what I was saying earlier, LabyRinth does actually decide to go for that marketplace in the end, but it is really awkward to creep. I hate creeping this camp, Remo.
Yeah, it doesn't give him level 3 either. It's not really, you know, it doesn't round out in such a beautiful way as if you're ready to fight right now. But it is the big item, of course, which in this case was the Scroll of the Beast, which is normally one of the weaker items there. However, against an army with no Dispel, in the right position can also be pretty good. Gets a steal here, and now he's level 3. And now the DK is very dangerous all of a sudden.
Shadowhunter is here, though, to relieve some pressure. Oh, beautiful surround on the Headhunter at the back while calling the one in front. Ghoul might be safe potentially. No, does get speared down there by those Headhunters. But 2 Headhunters going down for a Ghoul is a trade that Labby will take any day of the week.
Yeah, Headhunters being lost here is really painful, especially when it comes to creeping. Ideally, the Shadowhunter would love to solo creep right now with a bunch of Headhunters. But if you lose them, then I guess the Farseer has to creep with you. As also, the Dark Ranger second is the pick this time around, instead of the Lich that we saw before. This, by the way, I'm pointing towards this earlier in the first map. If now KnOfF could manage a Wyvern transition, it could be really strong. But since he's behind already, that is difficult to make work. But something else he's going for is...
There it is.
Torrent Totem this time. So here on map 2, looks like we will indeed be seeing those Torrents.
Yeah, which would obviously be super fun to see. I feel like the Dark Ranger, though, is quite well equipped to deal with the Torrent as well. And of course, having that level 2 Black Arrow online earlier, getting a few more blockers in, is always helpful against the strong melee force of Torrents in particular. And of course, helps to get that snowball online sooner with the ghouls diving into the back and slaying those berserkers as quick as they can. KnOfF here, obviously, with only 4 Headhunters, isn't getting the fastest creeping done in the world, it has to be said. The Lab here presenting some problems, honestly, right now. And here comes Labby with his heroes, of course, looking super dangerous. Dark Ranger, a total nuisance, of course, with that Black Arrow, and Labby has plenty of coils to work with. Oh, the Rock Golem.
Oh, looking for the target. Man, that looks like a hand cannon when that coil flies towards the Farseer, who is not that tanky of a hero. Actually, the gauntlets are helping him out here a bit. Like, KnOfF, he always seems to be playing from behind in this game. Never did we see momentum shifting in his favor. Headhunter numbers always kind of low. No big creep camps really going his way. He got 1 ghoul kill this whole game, but exchanged it for 2 losses against the Headhunters, which are, however, now finally Berserkers. That's a big upgrade. The TC is coming. That's an upgrade. Torrents are coming. Another upgrade. So, KnOfF wants to sail on the wings of the tier 3 power spike, but is still suffering from weak heroes for now.
Yeah, this creep camp is really presenting KnOfF with so many issues, and Labby, this is kind of interesting to see from Undeads. Normally when they pick Dark Ranger second, there's a period of time where they stop being aggressive. But actually, Labby buying so much time here. Wait, what?
That was a sick deny.
What a sick deny. Oh, and the coil save as well.
Save there.
How does KnOfF not kill any units there? That is insane by Labby.
Yeah, this is the highlight reel right now being performed by Labby. A really good sequence for him again. I think he's not going that well for KnOfF. He's got the big units here. Don't you tell me. Don't you tell me he's still the last hit. Okay, no. That would have been insane. Easy got the experience. Losses. But it's another kill. Look at him. Without a third hero, just with a handful of ghouls.
This looks almost ridiculous, honestly.
Labby feeling very confident right now. Is this overconfidence, perhaps? Looks like no. Gets the Berserker in the back. Saves the ghoul.
Oh, man.
This was all before Frenzy, by the way.
That's absolutely ridiculous to see Undead leverage this kind of off timing. It feels like a very anti-timing right now. But Labby, I think, sensing that KnOfF is having such difficulties clearing this lab right now, that maybe he thought that we could get enough work done. Oh, another coil was still able to keep the ghouls alive. And this Tauren, don't tell me he loses the Tauren early on, Remo. We can't have the first Tauren going down this early. Oh, Tauren will get away scot-free, I think, in the end. But so much damage sustained, and you need so many heal salves to keep them going. It's insane.
That's always the awkward thing about Taurens. I think in the ultra late game, when you just have huge armies battling and stuff is dying, I think Taurens are really good. You can't heal them, it doesn't matter. You know, they tanked a lot, they did a lot of damage, but in the mid game, when you're still recovering, when you're saving most of your units, and you have to heal this Tauren with heal salves for like 2 minutes, it's weird. It's awkward. It was very difficult to find a place for them in the meta, but like we said, Lin seems to have found a way indeed. I applaud KnOfF for trying the Tauren as well. So far, unfortunately, he's not looking the best. This row the beast is popped. The first Tauren is going to go down. Lots of experience there as well. TC almost finds himself in a surround. Heal potion there to stay alive with for a little bit longer. The Berserker numbers are always the problem. There's always not enough of them.
Oh, the Shadowhunter is going to die to a coil here for sure. LabyRinth getting on top of that hero right away. The Scroll of the Beast being patiently saved for this crucial attack. And those ghouls are absolutely insane. And LabyRinth closes that out pretty easily in the end against KnOfF.
Yes, sir. 2-0. I was hoping for a little bit closer of a game, I must say. But LabyRinth here seems to be coming in full swinging in great shape. KnOfF also had a good group stage. 3-1 his